The Middle East is once again on the brink of chaos. In a shocking escalation, Iran has reportedly launched more than 500 missiles at Israel in what many analysts are calling the largest direct assault in the history of their conflict. This barrage, lasting several hours, lit up the night sky over Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Jerusalem. Residents rushed to bomb shelters as the Iron Dome missile defense system struggled to intercept the incoming fire. The Israeli Air Force scrambled its fighter jets, but reports indicate that at least 16 Israeli pilots have lost their lives following counterstrikes and defense missions gone wrong. Eyewitnesses described the scene as apocalyptic. Explosions echoed across major cities, setting off fires and power outages that left thousands in darkness. Hospitals are overwhelmed, emergency sirens blaring non-stop. For many Israelis, this is the most terrifying night since the beginning of the Gaza war. The Israeli Defense Forces quickly confirmed that Iranian missiles targeted both military installations and major infrastructure points, including airbases, radar sites, and communication centers. Iran state-run media hailed the attack as Operation Martyr's Revenge, claiming it was retaliation for a recent Israeli airstrike in Damascus that killed senior Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders. This attack is significant because it marks a dramatic shift from proxy warfare to direct confrontation. For years, Iran and Israel have fought shadow wars through militias in Syria, cyber attacks, and targeted assassinations. But this, experts say, changes everything. Satellite imagery shows dozens of Iranian launch sites activated simultaneously, indicating a highly coordinated strike. American defense officials confirmed that several of the missiles crossed into Jordanian and Iraqi airspace, sparking diplomatic outrage from neighboring countries. Jordan's foreign ministry called the attack a reckless provocation that risks dragging the entire region into war. Inside Iran, crowds filled the streets waving flags, chanting anti-Israel slogans, and celebrating what they call a historic response to Zionist aggression. State TV showed footage of Revolutionary Guard commanders praising the missile program and warning that this is only the beginning. Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi declared that Tehran would not back down until Israel pays for every drop Muslim blood stolen in Gaza. He accused Western policy of hypocrisy, condemning Iran while supplying weapons to Israel that kill civilians. Meanwhile, in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed retaliation. Unprecedented scale. His address to the nation was broadcast at midnight, where he called the Iranian attack an act of war. The Israeli military has placed its nuclear and long-range missile units on full alert. Intelligence reports indicate that Israel is preparing for a potential air campaign deep inside Iranian territory, targeting missile launchers, nuclear facilities, and Revolutionary Guard command centers. U.S. and European leaders have urged restraint, but the situation appears to be spiraling rapidly out of control. The United States has moved additional aircraft carriers into the eastern Mediterranean and Gulf regions to deter further escalation. President Biden reportedly held an emergency meeting with national security officials and reached out to both Tel Aviv and Tehran through back channels to de-escalate tensions. However, Israeli officials insist that Iran has crossed a red line and that there will be consequences. The Pentagon confirmed that U.S. radar systems helped intercept a number of incoming missiles aimed at southern Israel, but several slipped through, hitting a military base in the Negev desert and causing casualties. The humanitarian impact is already being felt. Thousands of families have fled from northern Israel, fearing Hezbollah, Iran's ally in Lebanon, might open a second front. Rocket sirens have been reported in cities near the Lebanese border, as well as in the occupied Golan Heights. Israel's Iron Dome and David Sling systems are being tested like never before, intercepting waves of missiles but unable to stop them all. Social media is flooded with videos of night skies filled with streaks of light, missiles and interceptors crossing paths in a deadly dance. Analysts warn that this conflict could drag in multiple regional players. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Egypt have all condemned Iran's attack but are also urging Israel not to overreact. The European Union has called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting. But as usual, the chamber remains divided, with Russia and China blocking any strong condemnation of Iran. Moscow, notably, has expressed understanding for Tehran's actions, claiming Iran had the right to defend itself against Israeli aggression in Syria. Beijing has called for peace but blamed U.S. involvement for fueling tensions. Energy markets have reacted violently. Oil prices have surged past $120 a barrel, and shipping companies are diverting vessels away from the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical oil choke points. Stock markets across Asia and Europe have tumbled amid fears of a wider war that could disrupt global trade. Experts predict that if the conflict expands, it could trigger a new global energy crisis. Inside Iran, the government is boasting about the success of its missile technology, and state news channels claim that over 70% of their missiles reached their targets, an unprecedented rate that demonstrates the power of Iran's upgraded arsenal. Western military analysts, however, dispute those numbers, saying most of the missiles were intercepted or fell short. Still, the scale of this attack sends a powerful message. Iran is no longer hiding behind proxies. At the same time, in Washington, lawmakers are divided on how to respond. Some are calling for increased military aid to Israel, while others warn that direct U.S. involvement could ignite World War II-III. Anti-war protests have already erupted in several major cities, demanding peace and criticizing both Iran's aggression and Israel's actions in Gaza. The global reaction on social media is mixed, some praising Iran for standing up to Israel, others condemning the violence that's claiming innocent lives on both sides. As dawn breaks over the Middle East, the world watches anxiously. Israel's military says the retaliation phase has already begun, with airstrikes reported near Tehran and Isfahan. Iranian air defenses have been activated, and the situation remains fluid. The fear now is that this may spiral into a full-scale regional war, one that could engulf Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and even the Gulf states. International diplomats are racing against time to prevent total collapse. The United Nations Secretary General has urged both sides to cease hostilities, calling this moment the most dangerous point in the Middle East in decades. But the rhetoric from both Tehran and Tel Aviv suggests that peace is far from reach. Both nations are standing firm, Israel demanding accountability for its fallen pilots, Iran insisting it acted in self-defense. The next 48 hours could determine whether the Middle East plunges into a prolonged war or steps back from the edge. With Israel's advanced air power and Iran's vast missile network, any direct confrontation would be catastrophic. The world powers, from Washington to Moscow, are now calculating their moves carefully, knowing that one misstep could unleash chaos across continents. The night that began with sirens and explosions may well be remembered as the spark that changed the balance of power in the region forever. Whether this becomes another tragic chapter or the beginning of a new order in the Middle East depends on what happens next. But one thing is certain, the world will not be the same after Iran's 500 missile strike on Israel.